Howdy! This video is going to go a bit more in-depth about lists, and more importantly, I managed to get a sorting algorithm working, so I'm going to be showing that off as well. But for starters, let me just say that the sorting algorithm is the only thing that I've already implemented here. I'm going to try my best to build a get and set function on site. Now you might ask, what is a get function, what is a set function? Why is my W key? The W key is being weirdly sticky. I don't know what's up with that. Yeah. It's strange. Whatever. So, the question becomes, what is get and what is set? Well, it's a similar situation that we had last time, so let me go ahead and get some... Same deal as before, get some items of different values. And I'll explain why I'm getting these in a second. So there's two functions that I want to build here. The first one is simple enough, and it's get. What I want to do is simply get one of these values by a number. If it's 0, I want to get the first value, 1 gives the second value, 2 gives the third value, so on and so forth. And because of the way that I write this, normally if you get an index outside of these values, it will not work, but because I'm implementing it in a certain way, I think indexes above 5 should actually work, because it's almost as if there's a ghostly copy beyond here, because if I'm going to be, spoiler alert, I'm going to be implementing this with shift left. And after 6 iterations, it just goes back to what it was before. Now, set is a little bit trickier. What I want to do is first find the value, but then replace it with something else. Now this one's a bit harder because, unlike the previous example, I want to preserve the list. With get, I can really just make a throwaway array, shift left until I found what I'm looking for, and then basically just toss it out. But in this case, I'm going to have to be a bit safer with the way that I operate it. So, how exactly am I going to implement this? Well, just tab on over. And I'll come back to these three. These are the functions that I wrote for the sorting algorithm. Spoiler alert, I did not end up making a, what is it called? I did not end up making a bubble sort. And I probably won't make a bubble sort, because there are issues that popped up that I was not expecting that made it way, way harder. I don't think it's actually possible to do a bubble sort with my current setup. I would have to drastically change some things. Excuse me. Hang on, I'm cleaning out a whole bunch of back files that got generated. I'm going to make a function called get. I'll pull it up in a moment. There we go. So, what do we want this function to do? Well, we want it to be a recursive function. We want to include shift left. That's about all the stuff that I know so far. Let me start by dropping in 2 of these. And then let's do scoreboard players, remove @s. Yeah, I had an input over here. I'm going to use input 1. And then execute unless score @s tutorial test input matches 0, run the function again. And then I'll do execute. I'll add that same gimmick here. I need to run there. That same mechanism here and drop it all the way down to the bottom, because I only want it to shift if it needs to. And then finally, I think this is all I'm going to need. Execute store result. I'm going to want to make another scoreboard called output. Store result score at S. Oops. Output, run, data, get storage. Oops. Hey, datalin. What's that? Tutorial test. Input. And then run get again. So, let me walk through what this does. And this will be helpful for y'all, and it'll make sure that I actually got this right. What it'll do is every time it'll remove 1 from the input. It will store it will get input of 0, store that as the output. And then if it matches 0, it'll shift left and run the function again. Criminy. I think I've run into an error, but I might be able to correct it. Yeah, so let's just work with this and see what it gives me. Reload. Make sure that there's no errors. It should appear. It appeared. Okay. So now, next step, let's give this effect to a snowball so I can run it easily. And then I'll also add a, data mod. This is something that I use a lot here. Data modify storage, datalin, tutorial test, input, set from, bloody blah, list. So input is equal to list. And I'll get, and then I'll kill the snowball. So it only runs once. Okay, now let's see if this actually works. I'm kind of skeptical, and I think you'll be able to see why. Mainly because I didn't give it an input. Oops. Let's do that as well. I run scoreboard players, set at S, input. We'll set it to 1 first. And just to show it off, this is the default list. It's the same list that I had last time. So, if I did this right, it should give me 0. So let's tap over, reload, and then do scoreboard, objective, set display, sidebar, that output. Right now, it's displaying 0. So, let's toy with this a bit. If I were to set the output to 3, would it still give, if it still gives me 0, something's going wrong. Something's going wrong, alright. Okay. Okay, I think I found it. It's running 6,500. Yeah, something's going wrong here. Set input to run guess. Is this parsing correctly? Looks like it is. Alright, let me use a very useful debugging tool. Ugh, I hate that it does that. Okay. Go to score. And at S, tutorial test output. This is an extremely useful thing that I can do. Oh god, Notepad++ is over it. My apologies. This is what it says. I wrote a little bit of a command using MC Stacker that'll display the current tutorial test output. So now, let's head on back over and plop it in here. And if something's going wrong, this will either display blank or it'll display 0. And we'll see. We'll have to see what it comes out to be. Based on what that value is, we can work from there. Reload and run. It's 0. Strange. Let me try something, actually. Let me change the the leading value to 11, let's say. It's a bit of a random choice here. It is 11. Okay, so that's... I think I found my problem. Something's making it not loop correctly. Is test input defined correctly? Excuse me. Blech, I don't usually get bloody noses. That's frustrating. Okay. So what is going wrong here? Getting 11. Let me try getting 2. Oh! I think that worked. Because the second value is indeed 4. Yeah, I think I did it. It's just one value ahead of what it's supposed to be. And then let me make it 5, because why not? Load, and it'll actually loop through all, but it's only going to output the bottom. 1. You know what's going on? It's not outputting to me. Hang on. Store results score at A. That's why this isn't working. And there we go. And I think if I do... Oh wait, I'll do add P. Reload. Yeah, now it works correctly. It'll loop through until it finds the fifth input, and it'll output that fifth input. Alright. So now we have that, but let me go and find, let me do data, get storage, data and tutorial test input. You might notice this is not my starting list. This is now a different list. And if I want to do set, I don't want that to happen. So, with that said, let's move on to set. Using the same framework, I want to make a function that will loop through until it finds a value, sets it, but then keeps going until it's completely rolled over. So for that, I'm glad I implemented, let's do, give me a moment, making a new file, sets.mc function. So for the first order of business with all of these is what are the prerequisites for this function? I don't know if it's cute. Good enough. So what are the prerequisites for this function? Well, we need the size, because we want it to keep going. We want the input. We want a value. And then let me copy over get real quick. Because we're going to be using very similar code, but instead of input, I'm going to use size. And then execute if score at s how do I want to do this? I'm going to need a new function. I'm going to need a new value, I think. Oh, wait, I can just use cur. Okay. Let's add cur1. At s cur. And run unless size is equal to cur. So keep going until it does this. Now, if I did this right, let me swap around these variables a bit so that it does get instead of set. And also I'll add a clause that sets cur to be equal to 0. Oh wait, that's not going to work, because this is just going to loop all the way through. So I think... Actually, let me run it. Let's see. Do a quick reload. 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I gotta run. I'm a fool. I gotta run get a quick thing alongside it. I haven't run get size at this yet. Get size, and then I need to get this value again. Pardon? Oh, you know what? It's giving me size. So what I need to do is, let's hop back on over. Unless at p size. Kind of a hackneyed way to do it, but it doesn't really matter as long as it works. Which it didn't. Lovely. I reloaded, so... Oh, it's running get again. That ought to do it. Yeah, I was running the wrong function here. Brilliant. Yeah, that goes all the way through. And the output is -1. It should actually be one more than that. Let's try that. Yeah, it goes all the way through until it finds the first value again. So now what I need to do, I haven't used input yet, but I'm gonna correct that by modifying this a bit and saying execute if score at s cur is equal to at s input. So this is the reason why I swapped it from a remove to an at. It didn't matter before, but now that I have to match up these values, it could get kind of messy otherwise. Oh, what the hell did I do? Oh, okay. I need to... I need to actually give it a... Oh, I gave it the wrong kind of input. I need to give it two things. I need to give it an input, and I need to give it a value. Or I need to give it an index, rather, and a value. Make another add tutorial test value dummy test value. And then I'll do at s run. Oh, wait. Why even bother with this? Data modifies storage. Tutorial test. Do value, set value, and let's make it 25. So I can now call this. Let's do val. Set value. And then the final step is instead of get storage, I don't think I need to run this bit anymore because I don't really care about the output. And then I can do data modify storage tutorial test input 0 set from storage datalin tutorial test val. Yeah, that should work. It still says 1, but if I do slash data get storage tutorial test input, should be a 25 in there now. Yeah, and it's at index 5. If I run it again, yeah, because it's the same thing. The very last step is now that I have that input, yeah, I think I'm fine with that. The last thing I want to do is just because it would get annoying otherwise. Let's head on over to the notepad, comment out this, and comment out that, because that way I can actually test it without it getting frustrating. 25 is there. Now suppose I want to make its value 441. Perfect. Suppose I want to make its value 3 instead of 5. Awesome. So, now we get on to the fun one. We get on to the sorting algorithm. This is the one that I had been working on for quite a long time, trying and failing to make it work. And I realized I was kind of doing it wrong. Previously, I had been trying to implement what's called bubble sort, which I explained earlier. But it's a lot simpler to just do a selection sort. And what a selection sort is what you do is you go all the way through an array, like, let's see. Suppose I wanted to sort all of these by color. And this isn't a true selection sort, because a true selection sort would do it in the array itself, but that requires too much micromanagement for this unfortunate little bit of code. So I'm not going to do that. Suppose I want to sort these by brightness. Kind of arbitrary, but whatever. So at a passing glance, the brightest thing is iron. So I'll put iron first. Then I go through again, ignoring iron. The next brightest thing is probably diamond. Lay that down. The next brightest thing is probably gold. Lay that down. The next brightest thing is amethyst. Then stripped oak. No, probably copper. Then stripped oak. And then netherite all the way at the bottom. So, the way that I implemented that with code, it required quite a bit of work. This is one of the larger bits of code that I've done for this course. So let me go ahead and sort them like this, because I want to go through them bit by bit. First, it removes that, it clears output. sets input to be equal to list, sets the size equal to 0, the count equal to 0, and the max equal to this massive negative number. I'll explain what all these do in a second. Gets the size, and then runs selection sort outer. This is the first of the loops. Every time it will set the minimum to this massive number that's basically just a placeholder. The max one is also basically just a placeholder. And it'll add 1 to count. And then it'll loop through, set temp to be equal to list, run selection sort inner. And what selection sort inner does is it iterates through every single value, and it gets the lowest value to start with. Then it sets the min that you get equal to temp. Appends temp to output. Sets max to be equal to that min. And then run it again unless count is greater than or equal to the size. So it keeps going for each value in the array. Now, the reason why max is here is because I don't want it to find the same value multiple times. So every time it runs, it's going to give a new floor. Max is probably a terrible way to describe it, because it's more of a floor. What it'll do is it will ignore values that are less than that floor. Now, let's see it in action. Let me go ahead and clear out most of this. Yeah, I think I can just clear out everything. Selection sort. Yeah, and it sets the input inside, so I don't need to do much there. I'll reload and get my snowball. And there we go. List sorted from 11, 4, 5, 8, 1, 2, 0, 10, 12, 3, 8, 1 to that. Hang up, a value's missing. Criminy. Let me see if this fixes it. This might bungle everything, but it's worth a shot. Yeah, okay, that fixed it. I just had to change a greater than or equal to. I just had to change a greater than or equal to just a greater than. That fixes it. Now, this is good, but it's flawed, which may as well be the motto of this freaking channel. But the main problem here is that if there's more than one value of the same type, it will break the algorithm. So let me demonstrate that real quick. Head on over to Notepad and modify this to also include a 2. Now, if you notice, there's already a 2 here. And you might think, oh, that's not going to break much. Well, watch and learn. This is going to look, yeah. So what is happening is it's skipping over that 2, and because there's now one extra item in that array, it's outputting that placeholder value from before. And I don't know a graceful way to fix this, unfortunately. I'm sure there is one, but I don't know it, so I'm just going to operate under the assumption that you wouldn't use this for those things. Now, the last thing that I want to show is verify that you can do this with any length. So let me go a little bit crazy here and do... Because this sorts from bottom to top, I'm going to put in a list that goes from top to bottom. So we'll do 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, all the way down. Now, if you remember from my bubble sort video, if you remember from the list video, I mentioned that this is the worst case scenario for an algorithm like this. Well, it's true for the selection sort as well. But it doesn't hit the limit, which is awesome. I was kind of concerned that it would, but if we were to do slash, let's already do the function, run it personally, it runs 2,606 commands. This is a nice little segue into the homework assignment, because this is probably the most difficult assignment that I'll give, because the next video is going to be the finale video of this playlist. Let me go ahead, head back over and make it a list length of 10. So I'll do, I'll do this twice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. A lot of 0 in there. I'm trying to define a range here. Let me load and run the selection sort. Let me write this number down. 703 commands. Excuse me. Oh, my apologies. And if I understand correctly, pardon me. If I swap it over from the best case scenario to the worst case scenario, I don't think the number will change, but I've been proven wrong before. Nope, it's exactly the same. 703 is 703. My magic number here is 703 commands for 10 inputs. My challenge to you is to write a sorting algorithm that does better than this. And you can use whatever method you want. I'll leave a link to the Wikipedia article that has a whole bunch of sorting algorithms described. And if I can't find that, there are tons of sources online for finding. I think Geeksforgeeks has a whole set of online documents detailing different types of sorting algorithms and Python implementations of them. I'm almost certain there's some on Wikipedia, so I'll link those. The challenge is to beat my score. What you need to do for the assignment is to write an algorithm that is stored entirely within one function. You shouldn't have to do any kind of predefining of variables. Everything should be inside. Then run it and see what score you get. My number to beat is 703. That is almost certainly beatable. Considering that I wrote this in probably 2 hours, hour and a half, operating on slightly below average sleep and four college classes worth of work that I've been putting off from doing. So I'm sure that y'all can do quite a bit better than that. But with that being said, that's about all I got. And like I said, the next video is going to be less about the code or about the code itself and more about ways to improve your code. To make it more readable, to make it easier to debug, all that jazz. Dang. I somehow managed to make these videos longer every single time. I don't know how I do this to myself, but whatever. It is fine. I like making them. Hopefully y'all like watching them. With that being said, thank you so much for watching. Have a good day, y'all.